if you've participated in any of the end Alzheimer's walks, and you see the little flowers that they have that are in different colors. The blue one represents a person who's actually struggling with Alzheimer's. I think the yellow one is for the person who is supporting someone who has Alzheimer's. It's different colors. The one that really stands out to me the most is the white one. If you've ever seen a walk, you never see anybody with the white one. Why? Because the white one is for the first survivor of Alzheimer's. And to date, they don't have one. So what we'll be talking about today is us learning more of it, heightening our awareness, doing whatever we can, even if we don't know a person in our family, if they're in our church home. It's so much work to be done to support people who have Alzheimer's. So before I begin, I am going to pray, and then I'm going to go forward. I like for people to talk back to me when I talk. I'm not what the traditional speaker, I'm a teacher. So all the time, my students are talking back to me. The very first part is a lot of factual information. It might be hard to hear, especially if you know you have someone that has Alzheimer's or dementia. But in that portion, you'll just be receiving information. That's why it would be good to get the slide deck. After I'm done, you're welcome to just type your email address in and I can share it with you. Yes, ma'am.
Do I have paper?
Yes, Tahashi. And the handout is just a summary of some items about caregiving tips. And the last page covers a lot of your resources here in the state of Arizona. I didn't do it for Chicago, being that's where I'm from, but I made sure that I gave you resources for the state of Arizona. Okay? So if we can bow our heads in prayer. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you, we praise you for this another wonderful and glorious day that you've blessed us with. Thanking and praising you for just allowing me to be here, to make it here safely. Thanking you for sending all of those who should be here today to receive this information. Asking that you be in the midst of this service, that everything that is said and done is for your glory, your honor, and for our growth and our awareness, Lord. Just asking that you would comfort anyone who has lost a loved one from Alzheimer's, anyone who is currently a caregiver to someone with Alzheimer's, and anyone who just knows people who might be struggling with it. Lord, asking these and all the other blessings in your Son, Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Okay, so first and foremost, it's important for us to get a better understanding of exactly what Alzheimer's and dementia is. In order for us to know what we're talking about, that understanding is necessary. And you heard Barbara mention that it's difficult for them to tell the difference between the two. So with dementia, for example, it's a general term that's used to really describe a group of symptoms that affect memory, thinking, and social abilities severely enough to interfere with daily life. That means my memory is not functioning in a way I'm not able to think, in a way that I can't do my daily task. I can't take care of me. Dementia in itself is not a disease. It's really a syndrome because it's a collection of symptoms caused by various underlying conditions. There are different types of dementia. They have at least 4: vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal lobe dementia. So those are some of the ones they've named thus far. You'll see commercials where they name agitation as a type. Agitation is not a type. It is a symptom, yes. And then Alzheimer's, so the contrast. It's the most common cause of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of all dementia cases is Alzheimer's disease. It is an illness of the brain. It is characterized by the buildup of plaques and tangles in the brain. So it stops the brain from producing and growing as it should. It's like it's prohibiting it. When you think about plaques that build up in your heart, how it just stops the movement of the blood flow. That's what you're looking at when you're looking at plaques that build on the brain. And that is why after you're deceased, they can do an autopsy and they're able to see that closer up. They have some tests where they can see plaques now, but most of the confirmation is done after death. These plaques and tangles interfere with brain function and communication between neurons. So it is a specific degenerative brain disease that leads to the death of brain cells over time. And that is why progressively the person just gets worse. All that they try to do with dementia, you'll hear me say as I'm talking, they can give you medicine to treat it, to slow it down, and even some cases to stop it. With Alzheimer's, all they can do is treat the symptoms. They can't stop it. It's going to progress because of the disease that's present. So with dementia, signs and symptoms you might see is confusion, memory loss, difficulty communicating, changes in mood or behavior. With Alzheimer's, you have some early symptoms that mirror what you see in dementia because, again, it's caused by dementia. It's subtle memory loss, trouble remembering newly learned information. That means something I tell you today you're not going to remember, but you can remember the things that happened in the past. A great example of that is Mom. Her mind was set to where we were children, where all of her children were in the house with her because she was living in the past. Anything I tried to reorient her to, as in the day that everybody is grown and they're gone on, she couldn't fathom that because she's living in the past. She's not remembering the right now. Asking the same question over and over again. They might tell you the same story, call you to say, yeah, I didn't tell you so-and-so such and such happened. And for us as caregivers or just loved ones, church members, instead of saying, you told me that already, just say, yeah, just listen. Because it's hard enough that they're reliving these things and they're forgetting than for us to put on them, oh, you just can't remember. You need to get that together. We don't want to do that. Trouble paying bills. My mom was paying bills 2 and 3 times to the point where it had credits. And because the world is not kind, nobody called to say, ma'am, you already paid this, you already have a credit. They just taking the money, taking the money, taking the money. So if a family is not looking on to see what's going on, they don't even know that this is happening. So as your loved ones get older, as you see differences, even when you don't want to see them, because we didn't want to see them. We wanted her to continue as she was, but we could tell that things were different. Getting lost. That was a staple for her. She was able to take public transportation in the city of Chicago wherever she wanted to go because she never drove. People would tell me, yeah, I saw your mother on the north side. Oh, yeah, I saw her over here. Because she was everywhere in the city of Chicago. When she began to call me from work and say, Jackie, I am on Michigan Avenue at so-and-so, I'm on the bus, I don't know where to go to get to Northwestern. She knew how to get to Northwestern in her sleep. All of my surgeries, I've had 27 surgeries. All of them were at Northwestern. She was here for all of them except for 2. And she was the first person I always saw. She would beat me to the hospital from my house in the suburbs. So I know she knew how to get there. So when she began to get lost and even depended on strangers to bring her home and stuff like that, she said, well, the Lord told me I could trust him. And thankfully, nothing happened to her. I would just tell her from work, I said, I'm leaving work now. You stay there, you wait for me. So stuff like getting lost, going out of the house, doing things out of the ordinary. So those are things you want to look for. And this is early signs. Losing things or putting them in odd places. She was the queen of hiding everything. She had 11 children, and you want to make sure all of your things is put away so kids not messing with it. Whether that's weapons, whether it's money, whatever it is, she would put stuff up. And earlier, when she was fine, she could find it with no problem. But when she got to the point to where this was the case, she would just go buy a new straightening comb because she couldn't find her straightening comb. And then we look and she got like 5 combs here, 5 electric combs, because she keeps going to buy another one because she can't find the other one. And then that's when the blaming comes in this phase, in the early phase as well. And family members are not able to accept it. When they're saying, I had that straightening comb, I don't know why Ty took my straightening comb. That child know that I need my comb, but she got all my stuff. And that's what happens. Because that's the best way to explain when a change is happening. Because it can't be that I can't remember. It can't be that I'm changing. And that's their effort to try to hide it as long as they can. Then when you're looking at later signs of Alzheimer's, severe cognitive decline, personality changes. My mother was always a very sweet lady. She was aggressive with Alzheimer's. It's not because she wanted to be unkind to any of us. It's because if you know for yourself, imagine everything in your mind being cluttered. Picture a black room when you can't see anything. Think of losing your memory like that, where nothing is the same. The faces I'm looking at aren't even the same. People who were around her all the time, she remembered my name up until the time she passed, but she called me Mama mostly because she associated my title with what I was doing for her. But she knew my name up until the end, but there were still days when she had no clue that I was me. She could call me my brother Michael, who is our first sibling that preceded her in death. He died at age 50. She could call me Michael all day and say stuff like, boy, you better get yourself out of this bathroom with your mama. You're not supposed to be in here. And instead of saying, Mama, you know so-and-so such and such, I just let her say whatever she said and just keep going. Because it wasn't going to help her for me to attack what she was saying and try to correct her. It would only make her more agitated and more upset because nobody wants to forget. Nobody wants to forget. Think about when you walk into a room and forget what you came in there for. When you go to the other room and come back, you can remember. Think about when that is gone forever. Yes, difficulty performing daily tasks. It's best for me to use her as an example if it's okay with you because it kind of really highlights it. So when you're thinking about performing daily tasks, she was a woman who was very particular, one, about her food. She was an outstanding cook. And for her to get to the point where she couldn't do just her basic morning oatmeal, you know that it's a problem. Of course, when I was there with her, I let her do everything as long as she could. It, again, strips more from them to take the little tasks that they can do daily so she could do it safely. I was just there to make sure. She forgot all the bacon, all those things I do, I got from her. All of my cooking, I got from her. But when she got to the point where she was forgetting and she was using salt instead of sugar, not knowing how to put a cake together, it brought her great joy for me to just put the ingredients out. I would let her follow the recipe on the cake box, which she never had to do. All of her recipes were in her mind. She would write them down for us or tell us what to do. But when she followed that, as soon as she finished one ingredient, I would take it and put it away. And she said, why are you doing that? I'm not doing what I said. Yeah, you just put it in there right there. So that her finished product would be something she could be proud of. Those were things, all of that's important to a person who's suffering to remember. They want to remember, they want to perform, and you have to do whatever you can to keep them there. She wanted to look a certain way. She preferred to wear dresses all the time. You all saw her when she would come and she was in her right mind. When she got to the point to where we could no longer put dresses on her, she actually asked for pants because she became cold. So we put pants on her, but that was never a thing that she wore. All of the things that I could do to make sure she maintained her dignity, and it was like she wanted it. I made sure all the slips, girdles, it was hard to put all that stuff on her, but if she wanted it, I'm putting it on her. Come on, let's go. Let's do it. Until we got to the point where we could not. Yes, ma'am.
You know, that was my sister. She's doing that right now. And she loved coffee. I mean, she don't drink one cup. It's like back to back of coffee, and she'll be like, okay, Denise, you gonna give me some coffee? No. She'll be like, why? I said, you can do it, come on. Come on, let me show you how to do it. And she would be so happy just to make her coffee.
Yes.
Because I was like, girl, no, I don't know how to make your coffee. You know how to make it better than I can. And I would say that, and she would go right in there and make her coffee, and she'll be good. She'll be like, I want another cup, girl. Come on, you know how to do it, because I don't know how to make her coffee. But when I would say that, she was okay with that.
It makes all the difference.
She would get up and go make that coffee.
Yeah. Being confused about time, places, and people. That's definitely a thing that you have to look out for. Even my older sister right now, she will argue me down. It's not this day, it's another. And I try to bring her back to where she is, and she's like, ooh, she said, I don't know what's going on, because in the back of all of our minds, we're thinking, Mom had Alzheimer's, my grandmother had some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. The reason I say one or the other is because she wasn't diagnosed. Down south, they don't do things like they do here in Chicago. And for us, it was important for us to name exactly what was going on. So we got her checked out. That's important. Forgetting the names of common things. If you've seen commercials on TV, the Alzheimer's commercials, the little lady, she's trying to cook sweet potato pies for her family, and they're in the store and they're trying to get her to say sweet potatoes, and she calls them brownlees because that's the thing she came up with to describe the item that she has known all along as sweet potatoes, and she didn't make that pie right for her family either. So those are signs you want to look at. Wandering away from home, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So paying attention to early signs and even some of these later signs so that you don't have a problem with your loved one getting out of the house or getting away. Because even when you're staying in the house, I was in the house with my mom and I came up, correction. The Lord gave me different techniques to use to make sure she was safe. You could go out her back door and she could get outside. I put a digital doorknob on the basement door. She didn't know the digital code. Everybody else knew. So that means she couldn't use that as her out. We had to use the lock that had the key to it, and everybody had to walk around with their keys on them because she didn't have the keys, so she couldn't get out. Even with the restroom, when they get to a place where they can't remember time and places and things, she would get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go to take a bath. And if you didn't hear her, she would fall and she could injure herself. So I had to lock the bathroom door. So coming up with strategies to where they're not confined to a little space and they can still move about safely, but you know that they're going to be okay because you're making sure those things are not an obstacle. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Sister Ford did.
Yeah, so you're talking about them taking a bath.
Yes.
For some reason, they're afraid of water. Not all of them, but some of them are afraid of water. My brother is dealing with dementia right now, too. My sister-in-law called me the other day and told me she was trying to get him to take a bath and he wouldn't. And when she tried to do it for him, he bit her.
So,
They're definitely afraid of water. Because when I worked in the medical field, they forgot to tell me that this man was afraid of water, and I was walking through that shower with him. If I hadn't found my way out of there, he was getting ready to tear me up.
but the thing is, and it doesn't have to be that they're afraid of water. Mom always took baths without a problem. The issue is they have forgotten the daily, what is it called? Activity of daily living. And they don't associate what you're doing to them as a bath. And the other part of it, if they don't remember you, no matter how close you are to them, they feel like, and that's when she used to fuss at me and think that I was Michael, that I am touching her. She would tell my other sister, she said, you know I'm not like that. I don't like girls. I like men. I got a husband. So, like that, because you don't know exactly exactly what they're thinking. All they know is you have their clothes off, this is personal, you got me in here. So it could be various reasons why they're fighting back because of a bath or a shower. It doesn't have to be that they're necessarily scared of water. They just might not remember the activity and they're trying to figure out what you're doing to them.
Because my sister-in-law was afraid that some of the family was going to think that she was abusing him. I said, well, if they're not going to help you with them, don't worry about what they think.
Yeah.
See, that was my problem. I had concern because even the doctors accused me of abusing my husband. And I'm like, and I abused him, I left his behind sitting right there at the door. I wouldn't even bother. But the thing is, it was because of what he said when I took him to emergency. I said, he was going through these problems. All he could say is, it's her fault that I'm here. Because he could not remember what was going on. And so he kept saying, it's her fault, it's her fault. And they could see that I didn't do anything. But one just associate came in and talking could understand what was going on because bottom line, I was repeating something that I was told that the policeman had told me. And it's because I was repeating what they told me and they said, this is what you tell them. This doctor just assumed because of the way he responded that it's her fault, it's her fault, it's her fault. And at first I got angry because I'm being accused of looking out for you, really caring for you, and then all you can do is tell them, just say that it's her fault. So from that, I had to learn how to really learn. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm breaking out of everything I can, but what I knew then, when they had to get him out of the car because I could no longer take him.
Yes.
The security had to come get him because I couldn't put him in a chair like I used to. There was nothing. But me to lift him, myself, and everything. But for the doctor, just because of the way he said he did, that took it. And then my sister, like what you were saying about bathing and stuff. I wash my face, but she doesn't want anybody to help her make her hair. And then I had the same situation with Sister Green. That was a problem I had. And I didn't know hers with dementia, but it's what when she got sick here. But not wanting to bathe and not wanting to get in the water, literally get in the water. And so it's just like, okay, what's dementia, what's Alzheimer's?
Yes,
I'm trying to learn how to deal with it.
That's very true. And the other part of it, the primary caregiver gets the most pushback because you, for them, are the voice of them. You're taking away all of their independence. Everything lands with you. You won't let me do this, you won't let me do that. They will tell you. I was definitely, although she knew my name until the end and called me mama and looked for me to always be there, I was the person that she fought back against the most because I was the primary caregiver. And that's just what happens. Strategies for hospitals, police, and all of those things. That's why it's important to take your loved ones to get them diagnosed by a geriatrician or by their primary care physician and have them documented. We had a letter written by my mom's doctor, by her doctor and her geriatrician that had her diagnosis on it with her name and our names because I kept Mom pretty much every day, but on Fridays, that was the day I went home to my house to go to sleep. She went with my sister Carolyn, and then I would pick her up on Saturday. So they put both of our names on the letter. Because when you're out in public and something happens, and they go into one of those where they're either saying they don't know you, or they're saying you're doing something to them, she would say that my sister Carolyn was kidnapping her. And the police said, ma'am, you don't have to worry about it. You look just like your mother. I know you're not kidnapping her. And pulling that letter out so that whatever authority knows that this is the case and this is what is going on. For 6 years, the 6 years that I kept my mom, this was my attire every day. I had on a shirt that said something about Alzheimer's. Because even if I could not communicate it out loud, if somebody came up and was watching what was going on, all I had to do was point to my shirt. And they had a clear understanding. This was my attire every day for 6 years for more than one reason, because They don't let you go in the bathroom and really take care of yourself, put on lotion, none of that stuff, because you have to hurry up before they get into something. So that's just what I look like. It was easier to put this on at jogging pants, so it was 2 reasons. But stuff like that is helpful for that. And I'm surprised at healthcare professionals who don't know for real what it's like to take care of somebody with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I know that it happens because even when she's was in the hospital, and I would tell them, if you don't have somebody in here or if you don't restrain her, she's going to wander off. And they're like, oh, no, she's gonna be fine. And they would expect me to be there all day to keep her calm and collected. And then if I stayed all night too, that means I'm back in the continuous pattern of no sleep, because you want me to keep her in check all night. And finally, they had to say, okay, they made her sit in the nurse's station with them. I said, now, why did you have to do that? Because she was walking off. I said, I told you that. I'm like, I told you. Listen to me. This is my everyday. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not doing anything to her to hurt her. Anything I do is for her safety. Yes, ma'am.
No, I had surgery on my hand.
Oh, okay.
I hold it like this.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to ask a question. Yes.
Yeah, someone could ask you about what are some of the preventions to kind of help with that
Oh, yeah.
at the early stage?
I'm on my way there.
Oh, okay.
Right now, we're just trying to get an understanding of the two. So key differences when you're looking at the comparison and contrast of dementia and Alzheimer's, the definition is first and foremost. Alzheimer's is a brain disease. Dementia is a group of cognitive symptoms. The cause of dementia can result from various diseases. This is one everybody needs to listen to. A person who has high blood pressure or stroke can end up with dementia. You want to make sure you're taking care, you're taking care of you. If you're hypertensive, take your medicine so that you won't have a stroke and so that it's not uncontrolled, because you too can end up with dementia. Stress can cause dementia. Stress. Yes. Stress. Alzheimer's, on the other hand, is caused by brain cell death and plaque. So, 2 different things. The onset of dementia can vary by type and case. Alzheimer's is usually gradual. It's going to progress over time. And you don't know the rate. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. Ty and Barbara, would you say Mom was fast or slow?
Slow.
It was slow. They gave us 6 to 8 months when she was first diagnosed, and that's because she was also diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And initially, the first year or so, it wasn't a whole lot of change. I still moved in her house even at that early period because I was working part-time. I figured I could at least work part-time, but she would do certain things like try to make eggs, and she put the whole carton on top of the oven, on top of the stove. So egg carton caught on fire one day, then the sleeve of her dress caught on fire. So what happened to my part-time job? It was gone. I had to let it go because then that means I had to be in there more often, because as things progressed, and I wanted her to have that independence, I just needed to be there. Yes, ma'am.
My mom had sundown with dementia when the sun started setting. She lost her whole bed, you know. It's hard to see a parent.
Yeah,
And
it
she
is.
had all of them there.
It is.
And you see that transformation
Yes.
where they don't look like your mom, they don't act like your mother. So I commend you for your sacrifice, because it was so hard for me. Me and my siblings took turns, and I'll never forget this day. I work for the bank, and the first of the month is just hectic. And I was just tired. And I put her to bed. And I just laid on the floor, not meaning to go to sleep, but I did go to sleep. And my mom got out the house with no clothes on, but a robe and a pair of slippers. It was a blizzard outside. But God protected her. When she came out that door, the neighbor saw my mom coming. She was scared to go in the house. She thought somebody had ran my mother out the house.
she called the sheriff. The next thing I know, the sheriff is standing over me, and I was like, where's my mother at? That's when I knew I had to give. I had to find help. And the help I found was this beautiful rehabilitation center. And the area that she was in was called Memory Lane.
Yeah.
They could not escape. They could not walk off. And you could go and come as many times as you want. And I couldn't go to sleep at night. I had to get up and go check about my mother. Because that's my mother.
Yeah.
So I commend you because when they're going through this transmission, they like cutting the water on where the water just started dripping on the counter.
Overflowing.
They'll set up different pile on the stove, so we had to remove the knives so she wouldn't cut. So I commend you. That was a huge sacrifice you gave. But it takes a village now
Oh, it
to
does.
take care of Alzheimer's dementia. You can't do it all by yourself.
It does. And I want you all to know, I know Barbara said that I was there. But I was not there alone. With the 11 of us, it would have been impossible for me to do what I did without all of their support. Because even as it started wearing on my body, that's when you all saw her here in Arizona more. They knew that I needed longer breaks because I wanted to be here and I wasn't willing to send her. My other sister kept saying, well, she's just going. I said, no. I said, if I have to have 3 more heart attacks, she's not going in anybody's facility. Because they don't understand. They don't get her combativeness. They forget that they're dealing with all of this loss of memory, their faculties. They don't know what's going on. They're totally confused. They are literally in the dark.
That's why I was blessed to find her in a facility that they had round the clock. With a certain amount of patients, so they took care of them. It wasn't like people waiting on the floor of dementia departments. They had one person for 3 patients. So that was the grace of God.
And that is one thing, now that you mentioned it, I would have mentioned it later. That's one thing that is common amongst Alzheimer's and dementia patients. They don't like clothes. I don't know why, but they do not like clothes. People at my mother's home church used to always say, and I don't know why people say mean things. They would say, I don't know why you disrespecting your mother, got her out here with her clothes on backwards. I said, well, if I don't put her clothes on backwards, then she would be sitting in here naked. So this is me protecting her, making sure that she stays covered. I said I would never do anything to disrespect or degrade my mother. Yeah, well, she couldn't figure out the backwards thing. We got her with backwards. Backwards, we were covered. So, with that, so just strategies, coming up with different strategies to deal with those things. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
My best friend, mom, I believe hers was long term because she was kind of young, but we noticed she started doing stuff. She would go and dig up holes in her backyard. But her main thing was she was always looking for her kids. Her son was deceased and she had 2 daughters, but she was always out there stopping people looking for her kids because she thought they were young still.
Yeah.
And so, but the 2 daughters, my best friends, they kept her for a long time, but they moved her into a facility because she called the police on my nephew and told the police that he molested her. And so they had to go through a whole lot.
Yeah.
And the police told my friend that it's best that they find a nice home for her because he had to go through a lot so he could be
To be clear,
they had to
yes.
take her to the hospital, do a rape test, and so they had to go through a lot to be cleared, and so they wind up finding a nice home for her as well to put her in, because the police told her if this happened again, that he may get charges against him, and so they had to finally put her in a home because of that reason.
It is true that some people have to do that, especially when they're taking care of a male, because they have superhuman strength at this point as well, because in their minds, they're protecting themselves. You pose a threat to them. And with men, it's like a woman, you can't really combat that. My mother was always very strong, but the one thing we're blessed with in our family, we have a strong base, all of the girls, so as long as I can lean in, there's not much she can do. Really. because she wasn't her regular size. She was 174 pounds at her healthy state. She went all the way down to like 125 pounds. So even when you were talking about lifting your husband, I have lifting restrictions, obviously, because of my kidneys and my heart, but I could lift her. So
That could be dangerous.
it can.
We didn't discover my mom was hiding knives under her mattress until she left here.
Oh,
And it
yes.
was- Yeah.
Oh, she pulled a knife on me, a hammer on me, but see, it only took one time, because then I went through the whole house, took all the knives. I took all the hammers, all of her guns, we had under lock and key, but we didn't even leave those in the house. We had Greg to come and get them and bring them all to Arizona, so we just got rid of everything.
That must be a thing where I'm from the school. My brother did the same thing. He told his wife, if you don't leave me alone, I'm gonna cut your head off.
Yeah.
And she went through that house, like you said, she went through that house and got all
Oh
the
yeah, you gotta get rid of anything that they can harm themselves.
Yeah.
And she was a seamstress, so she had all kinds of scissors. I took all of those too. She had one pair of tailoring scissors that was this big. Right, I took all of that, so that was no longer an issue. We had to safeguard her from just simple things like to make herself busy. She would take all of her clothes out the closet to put them all back. But taking everything out of the drawers, dropping drawers on her feet, we had to get dressers where the drawers did not come out.
And they would take money, like change and stuff, and put it in their socks and their shoes. Or take bags of sugar and hide it. That's just a strange thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't one thing in particular that they like to do, that continue doing it, no matter
Yes.
how many times.
Even if you wanted to distract her, Ty used to give her towels to fold, and she would fold them over and over again. She could keep dumping them out. She didn't realize that's what she was doing, but she could.
But there's no real way of actually trying to get them, once the brain of mine is gone. You can't, it's not like rehabilitating line to find something for them to do constructive.
No, the only things you can do, they have various therapies that can help ground them and bring them back. For Mom, her piece was music. So she did not lose any of her music, no matter how much her memory went, how many people she did not know. We had music therapy for her. They came into the home and did music therapy with her twice a week. And just sitting there singing her songs. The lady who came had a guitar and she thought she was just gonna have her singing random stuff. I'm like, that won't work for her. So we were fortunate enough to have all of the songs that her father taught her, that we grew up hearing her sing. We had all of them on a CD. So the lady learned to play those songs and she would sing with the CD and she kept her songs. And that totally calmed her spirit, soothed her. I mean, she could be mellow for the rest of the day. It wouldn't be any combating anything, because music was a thing that spoke to her. For some people, it's drawing, it's different things. So part of what your resource packet gives you is the different resources that your state has. So when your loved one has a case manager, they're able to get all of those services for free. They're able to get music therapy in the home, physical therapy in the home, all of those things. And I took advantage of all of that for her. Even having, I was her caretaker, so to speak, with the state, you know, when they get those caretaking hours. But with hospice and with the state, with the case manager, they gave additional time. So they would come in and they would sit with her. Let's say I wanted to go up to Jules, which was 5 blocks from the house. She would sit there and take me to the bathroom, feed her, whatever it was, and I could run out and I could come back. So you really have to tap into, like some of the things other people have been saying about different resources they use. You really have to tap into all of your resources so that you're getting all of those hours, because that keeps you from burnout. Of course, I'm a little ahead of my presentation because I am going to talk about burnout. That's on your handout too. But that helps, all of those pieces. I am really, really serious, as you can tell. I made sure that I equip myself with as much knowledge as I could about Alzheimer's and dementia. Because not just so that I can take care of mom, but so that I can help other people who are dealing with it as well. So anytime, Barbara has my contact information. Anything you want to talk through and figure out how to navigate it, I'm always open to a phone call. I'm at school during the day, so it has to be in the evening, but anytime. I do the same thing for people who are facing transplants, dialysis, anything that God is taking me through, I know that it's so that I can help somebody else. I know that it's so that I can help somebody else.
That's what we're trying to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
She's going through diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the brother with brain tumor, he's got these issues.
It can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming. So this next statement, I want you to tell me if it's fact or fiction. All Alzheimer's patients have dementia, but not all dementia patients have Alzheimer's. That is true. That is very true. So all Alzheimer's patients really do have dementia because that's where it starts. But not all dementia patients will end up with Alzheimer's. It depends on how they're starting. So know that. That's why that diagnosis piece is important. This next segment of information I'm giving you, for me, is very important because I don't believe we know how our community is impacted by Alzheimer's. I told Tyanza as I was preparing this presentation and I was looking for different pictures, it is very hard to find pictures that look like us when you're looking on the computer. And this is why that is quite strange. According to the Alzheimer's Association, 6.7 million seniors aged 65 plus have Alzheimer's and related dementias. 6.7 million of 65-year and older people have Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. Of all of those people, Alzheimer's disease is the most common diagnosis for 60 to 80% of those people. Approximately 48 million people in the United States are African American. Of that 48 million, 5.1 million have Alzheimer's. Wow. So why would I have a hard time finding some graphics that look like me if we are affected by Alzheimer's more than any other race or culture? Any other race or culture. That really boggles my mind. In addition to that, African Americans have 2 times higher risk of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's than any other race. A higher risk than any other racial or ethnic group. That is white, Hispanic, other, Asian, whoever it is. We have the highest cases. In general, yes ma'am.
Is that due to high blood pressure?
No, it's not so much due to high blood pressure. I'm getting ready to tell you why. Just give me one quick second. In general, Black Americans are more likely to have other symptoms, including the agitation that you see in commercials, the aggression, loss of inhibition, irritability, motor disturbance, abnormal sleep patterns, and behavioral changes. The reason we are at this state is simply because when we take our loved ones to the doctor or we go, they don't do their due diligence for us. We don't get the same type of treatment everybody else gets. This is evidence that racial disparities and health inequities persist in Alzheimer's disease and other related dementias. Despite the data that you just heard me give, this is data that's been collected. It's not like we're the ones collecting it. They know. So African Americans often experience diagnostic delays and are more likely to be diagnosed in the later stages of dementia. And you're already so far gone that even if you have the type of dementia that can be treated by medication, they've let it go so long before they've done anything that now you're at a place where it's difficult for them to get you back. And that's when they start making up these other medicines for agitation and stuff like that, saying that it's going to make you better. That's the other thing your clinician has to make very clear for your loved one's case. They tried medication with mom, but she continued to progress and her symptoms continued to worsen. So her geriatrician said it doesn't make sense for me to have this medicine in her body if it's not working. That's another thing we have to do. We have to make sure they're not just giving our loved ones medicine. They like to give them psych drugs because they're going to make them mellow and sit there and be good patients. That's what they do in long-term facilities, and you have to watch to make sure that they are not over-medicating and medicating your loved ones where they don't even know up and down. They don't even know you. They're doing it to control them, not to help them.
And they said there's a different type of this one lady, her mother had it. And when she went in with her mother to the doctors, this doctor did not know that she was a doctor. He was explaining to her what was going on with her mother. Wanted to give her mother medication. She said, well, then what kind of Alzheimer's does my mom have? So he was like, what? She said, I said, what kind of Alzheimer's is it? That's when I found out there was different types of Alzheimer's. So she took a day from her job until this man got he was giving her a few months to live. But she worked with that doctor until they got the correct cocktail for her mother. And the mother will pass what that doctor had said. But he wouldn't go volunteer until.
And it's different stages of Alzheimer's. Yes, ma'am.
So you said we're not getting the same treatment that the other races are getting. So what is that treatment that we should be getting?
When I say treatment, you need to be diagnosed early so that if you have the type of dementia that can be treated with medicine where it can slow the progression of it, or in some cases even get rid of those symptoms, you're getting it. But if they're not even seeing you to even diagnose you, you can't even get the medicine.
Because I have problems with memory loss. And I told my daughter, so she got on the doctor. So beginning of the year, I go for my memory test. So they can figure out what's going on.
And the other part of that we need to know for ourselves, is that there are some things that happens with us because of the numbers and our age going up. That's not necessarily dementia or Alzheimer's. And if you are a person that has other health issues, what I was talking about, that can usher in dementia. Low blood count, oxygen is low, it's not where it needs to be, so you're going to have memory loss. I am not even 60 yet. I won't be 60 until next year. I'm in various studies already for them to make sure my mind is right, because my mom had it and my grandmother had it. So any issues I have with remembering right now for me are associated with chronic anemia, because that's what kidney patients have.
Okay.
Right,
Because I
so
have kidney disease.
yes, and that's why you have to look at the whole picture. You have to make sure that your doctor is looking at everything. So for me, that's already been identified, because they're already looking at my brain. Nothing is showing there yet. So any issues I have with memory or any of those other issues that might look like it is related to an Alzheimer's or dementia is associated with my chronic anemia, and that's because of my kidneys. So just making sure you have the right name on what's going on with you, and they're not just giving you some medicine saying you have this or you have that. And that's what they do to us in our community. That goes back to what I'm saying. They're not giving us what we need. They just put us off. Sadly, I'm sorry, let me get your question before.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make a comment how it is so important for what you're saying, that when you are a certain age and you have other health issues, they don't do their due diligence, because my husband is sick. And we're still in the process of getting to the other side. And I would let him go to the doctor by himself, and then when he got to where I had to take him, and you ask questions, when you ask him a question and you kind of sound like you know what you're talking about, they don't want to address that.
No, you definitely have to
They don't
advocate
want
for
to
yourself.
address that, because like, sometimes with males, they don't ask the questions that we ask. That's why I'm here, otherwise I don't need to be here. And still, when you say it, they still don't do it, so you have to continue to do and say and say.
You definitely
Because
do.
when that, and then they will, depending on where you are, they will have the audacity to say, because of their age, because of that, as if you're gonna say, well, okay, no, you just have to keep at it, because you have to be that advocate for them, because they're not gonna do the right thing, they're not gonna do us due diligence.
That's very true. I started complaining, this is after I had my initial heart attack, started complaining of increased shortness of breath, lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue, all of those things. They put me in the hospital for a week in January of this year that I started. That was 23. And they did a whole bunch of tests. They kept saying, everything is right from what we can see, this is that and the other. I continued to complain the whole year. It progressively got worse. Then I got to the point where I got to the end of 24. And I took my own self to the hospital. They admitted me and they said, we did these tests and it looks like everything is fine. I said, for the last time, everything is not fine. If it was fine, I would not be here. I wouldn't have, I have students. I'm very serious about teaching my students. I don't like to miss school. I said, I wouldn't have come here if everything was fine. I said, I'm not leaving until you find out what the problem is. And then they start pulling out all kinds of tests. I said, I thought you did all the tests. Then after they did these tests, they found out that my right side of my heart was 100% blocked again, as it was when I had the heart attack. And I'm walking around with these raggedy vessels, look like it's getting ready to break in half at any point. And then they still didn't do my surgery until like, what, 2 weeks later? 2 weeks later, they told me to just go home and take an aspirin if I started having chest pains. So you have to be an advocate for yourself. Had I not stayed there and made them do those other tests, I am certain. My cardiologist told me when he saw me, he said, you definitely would have had another heart attack.
And
It's just crazy.
And the doctor will have an attitude, because my husband is very frequent, we go to the VA sometimes. And so my husband tells me, until I start coming, he was good. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Say, no, you were just pacifying him. You were making him think he was good.
You're not happy because I'm loved. I need you to do your job.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's what I'm paying you for. Of everything, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Why did it take them so long for you to get that surgery?
Because they had to schedule it. They had me scheduled for even later than that, and they moved it up once, and then they moved it up a second time because somebody canceled.
So you could have had a major heart attack.
And after I'm done, I'll show you the picture. I know that's not what we're here for, but that picture speaks volumes. I'm like, are you for real? Yeah. So sadly, Alzheimer's disease is the 4th leading cause of death among African Americans over the age of 65. 4th leading cause. 4th. So the latest population projection data as it relates to African Americans by age, of those 85 and older, 43.1% of them have Alzheimer's. 75 to 84 years old, 19.2% have Alzheimer's. 65 to 74, 6% of them have Alzheimer's. Those are very alarming numbers to me. And for us for them not to take it serious, and then even in some cases for us, this is why my family has taken up the whole thing of fighting to end Alzheimer's. Yes, my mom is gone already. She was not one of the people that's going to receive that white flower you heard me talk about, but I want somebody else's family member, somebody else's mother to receive it. So whatever we can do to raise money in order for this research to go forth, I'm willing to do it. I just pray constantly that as the research goes forth, our people are a part of that product, that we're getting that. Even when you see all of the commercials about Alzheimer's, all of the things that the Alzheimer's Association does, all the stars, you don't see any of our people out there. For the numbers to be like this, we should be somewhere in the equation. I'm just saying. This too is alarming. By 2060, the risk of Alzheimer's is forecasted to increase fourfold among African American seniors. So that means even more than what we're already seeing. And with the way things are going now, with healthcare and them trying to take things from us, you know that this trajectory is very true. Because they don't intend to do anything to help us. So it goes back to us being that advocate for ourselves. Older Black Americans are twice as likely to have Alzheimer's or related dementias than older white Americans. You've already heard me say that. So that shouldn't be very alarming. Among Americans aged 65 and older, 13.8% of African Americans have Alzheimer's and related dementias compared with 10.3% of non-Hispanic white people. A 2021 Alzheimer's Association survey found that 50% of Black Americans reported experiencing discrimination while seeking dementia care for a family member. So that's what you heard me saying about we're not getting what we need because they're put off, they're made to feel ashamed for even bringing it up, or that it's not non-existent. You're making this up, this has to be attributed to something else. Medicare payments for African Americans with Alzheimer's are 35% higher than those for white patients, partly due to receiving less timely and lower quality care.
How is that fair?
It's not. It's not, but it's real and it's true. And again, we're not collecting this data. This data is being collected by the CDC and all of the powers that be. So they see it, and until we really go to bat for ourselves and fight, this is going to continue to happen. Systemic and socioeconomic factors, chronic health conditions such as hypertension and diabetes, which increase the risk of dementia, are more prevalent in the African American community. Again, same thing. We're not receiving the treatments that we need. The people who fight for diabetic care and medications in our community is crazy. And when diabetes and hypertension are uncontrolled, that's when you have the problem. Because uncontrolled hypertension leads to heart disease, it leads to kidney failure, it affects everything in your body. Same thing for diabetes. It attacks every system in your body, every system. So the other part for us, which we have some control over, is the impact of chronic stress. A lifetime exposure to systemic racism and discrimination can cause chronic psychological stress, which may contribute to a higher risk of developing dementia. Along with that, we don't have any control over what the systems do to us, but we have control over how we handle stress. We really need to be locked into our faith and what the Word of God says in terms of how to control stress. Because that's the only thing we have. All of the band-aids they give you is not stress control. For me, if I want to make sure that I'm in a place where my mind is right, my pressure is low, even going through the things with health where they're not meeting what I need, I am constantly surrounding myself with the Word of God via a sermon or song, because that's all I have. That's the only thing I can use to feed me. That's it. This data is going to be a little different, not about Alzheimer's, but about caregivers. How many caregivers do we have in the room? People who have cared for or are currently caring for someone. And it doesn't have to just be Alzheimer's, just caregiving period. You all taking care of Granny. If she lets you. She like her mother, if she lets you. Approximately 43.5 million serve as unpaid caregivers to an adult or child in the last year. 43.5 million people. Unpaid caregivers. About 34.2 million Americans serve as unpaid caregivers to an adult 50 or older. This is just in the last year. And about 15.7 million adult family caregivers care for someone who has Alzheimer's disease or dementia. So again, those numbers are very high. And when you're looking at the stress associated with being a caregiver, there you go again with that stress that can push you into a realm or place or other health risks. The value of services provided by informal caregivers was an estimated economic value of $470 billion in 2013. So that means all of the unpaid services that you're rendering in 2013, that amount, if they were to set a financial amount to it, $470 billion. Guess what? That is almost the amount that the world's largest company made in 2013. Walmart made $477 billion in 2013. So the services you're giving is as much as what they made. We know how much we go to Walmart. Yeah. The majority of caregivers are women. Are you surprised? Anybody surprised? Upwards of 75% of all caregivers are female and may spend as much as 50% more time providing care than males. We know that that's true. The brothers in my family always calling to check on mama, praying for mama, but I don't know what it is about boys and their mothers. They want to do all of, I love my mama, but they're not doing the hard stuff. Right. After I had my heart attack, we went on a family cruise. Everybody had to take a day to take care of mom on a cruise because I had recently just had a heart attack, but I went on a cruise anyway. Mom was in my room. So the day that my brother Greg had her, bless his little heart, he had to take her to the bathroom. Oh. Of course, he had his wife to do it, but he was just so distraught. And they don't know how to be the voice of no. There's boys and their mothers. I went to get my hair done or something when the whole family was in Chicago. And he was at the house, you know, doing stuff, fixing stuff, putting plastic on the windows, stuff like that. And while I was gone, I came back, I said, why did you let her do that? Because she wanted to do it. I didn't know how to tell her no. Like, what do you mean? You didn't know how to tell her no. Yes. So the average age of the caregiver is 49.2 years old. 48% are between the ages of 18 to 49. 34% are between the ages of 65 and older. So you know that you really have to take care of yourself if you're in that age group, because if you don't, you're gonna go down. And yes. Caregivers have one or more chronic conditions. This is caregivers now. I'm not talking about who they're caring for. Hypertension. You know they have one or more. Overeating, because when we're stressed, we stress eat or we don't eat. It's one or the other. So either you packing the pounds or you skinny as a rail. Yeah, and all of that costs us. 61 to 91% of caregivers report depression. That's a lot of people. 61 to 91% of caregivers report depression. Just like I told you about stress, the word, your faith community, your faith in general is what's going to help you with depression. Doctors are going to give you those little Band-Aid medicines. It's not curing anything. It's not. I'm a biblical counselor at my church, and I counsel people who have depression, stress, just different issues, grief, all of those things. And I'm never going to tell somebody don't take the medicine your doctor's giving you, but I'm definitely going to tell you you better make sure that you are doing what you need to do with the Lord, because those are the things that's going to get you through. Not that medicine. The medicine is just there, just that Band-Aid. Like I said, as soon as you stop taking it, guess what? It's still there. It didn't go anywhere. The average length of caregiving is 4.3 years. How many people have been in the game for 4 years or more? Yep, caregiving. So 30% provide care for less than a year, 20% provide care for 5 years, and then 15% provide care for 10 or more years. I know what these statistics say, and the average length of time is 4.3. For us, it was a blessing that we had Mom for 6 years. I'm not going to tell you that every day was easy, because it wasn't. It's a challenge. Anybody, all the hands I saw that said they're caregivers, you know it's a challenge. But it's a blessing that you still have that time. God afforded us that time. When you're looking at the time that you spend caregiving on average, we're looking at 70 hours per week. If you are a person who does not work, you're looking at 100 hours per week. If you are a person who works a full-time job, you're looking at least 40 hours per week. So you're talking 80-hour weeks. And that's just the estimate. Just an estimate. And I know what that does for your sleep. It's one of the things my doctors told me that led to my heart attack. Other than being a kidney patient, something else you got to look out for. When I had my transplants, part of the protocol was not for them to do an angiogram, because doing that, it causes more damage to the kidneys. So they didn't do an angiogram. But the kidney disease that I had also caused me to lose all of my protein. And so as my body was trying to correct that, it made more protein, but when it made more protein, it made more fat. When I had my first transplant, my cholesterol level was 569. Right. I had to correct it by way of medicine, because I was a college student by way of diet. I was a college student at that time. They were not giving people Lipitor and all of that stuff at that time. So I had to bring it down that way. But they did not go back later and look to see what all of that was doing to my body. So along with the stress of taking care of Mom, not sleeping, because she can stay up for 4 days at a time with no problem. No problem. I'm sitting in there and I'm really going through, because I'm like, I want to go to sleep. But as soon as you close your eyes, you can hear it. Get busy, doing something. So sleep was a real thing. And those are things that lead to you having problems. So caregivers, we want to take care of ourselves. We definitely want to do that.
I'm worried about young folks. Because they don't have a mindset when we were young. I'm going to take care of you, mama. You ain't going to have to worry about nothing. These young folks got a whole different way of thinking.
You better know it. Like right now, I don't have any biological children, so we talk about that all the time. I told my siblings, because all of us are in that kind of same age range. My baby sister just turned 56. And then my oldest brother made it 77 this year. Yeah. So we're all right there. I told them a long time ago that we needed to buy a senior facility so that when it was time, we had a place to go. And they laugh, but see, they see it's true now. Because I don't have any kids, and I was trying to make sure we were covered. I have Ty, who is like right back here, right behind me. Ty, and I have my niece, Ariel. I'm not counting you out, Ariel, trust me, because you help with Mama. But those two have a heart to do those same types of things that we did for Mama. I'm like, they can't take care of all of us. So that's so true.
I don't think they think that it's severe, that they have to step in and take care of us all of us. You know? Because I took care of my uncles and aunties and cleaned them and housekeep for them, you know. My daddy had 12 brothers and sisters, and only 2 of the siblings had children. So we had to step up on the plate.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
You know, what I know is being a caregiver is calling.
Oh yeah, it's coming. I know it's taking me a while to get there.
It's not for everybody. And I do understand like back in the day, family, siblings, they did what needed to be done. But when you look at the world, and as God bless us and He make things better for us, oftentimes kids are not taught that.
Amen. Preach.
They're not taught that.
That's very true.
They're not taught that. What I learned when my dad, my mom, and my grandmother, I was a caregiver for them. What I learned about people, and God lets you learn things and He reveals things to you. So people say to you what's appropriate and right, but it's filled with nothing. Call them and see. They're gonna be busy. They're not obeying.
Yep. When they say, let me know what you need.
But God always put those people in place for you. When my husband was sick, and when we went home, it appeared that he was going into a depressive state. And what God showed me when I said to him, God is so amazing. I had took his vehicle for service, and when I got back, I went to the, he likes to get down from the Hallmark store. And so, everybody got a reward. And so she said, you have a reward? I said, I don't think so. I got one. So with it, you get one free card. So God has made just one card for me for this day, for this particular time. And the card says, I'm for you.
Yeah, that's it.
I bought the card and I went home and I wrote in it. And I always read to him and I asked him, I always ask, man, because you can tell me no. Can I read to you? So I read it and I said to him, I said, in my wildest nightmare, I could not have dreamt this. But this journey is for us.
Yeah, that's
To
right.
run, to help somebody else.
That's right. That's
And I
right.
said to him, I said, when I was talking my daddy lines, I said, the people that you thought coming, they ain't coming. I said, I'm going to do you one better than that. The ones you want to come.
Yeah.
They are not coming.
It's the ones you
I
not
said, the
counting.
one that you think is not,
Yeah.
that's the one God gonna send.
That's
And
right.
I told her, I said, I was raised by parents that be careful how you treat the people, because you're gonna need them before you leave this world.
That's right. Amen. Amen. Yes, ma'am.
What time is this gonna be over? Because it's going longer. I'm not trying to rush, but I like what you're saying, but we're not able to hear you because of all the questions.
No, it's okay. Trust me, I'm more than halfway through my slides. To my understanding, this is over at what time? We don't have time. But I'm more than halfway through my slides. And I do like the conversation. One of the things that's good for caregivers is this type of forum where you can talk about what you're going through. Because unless you know somebody else is going through it, it makes it a little easier for you to hear from somebody and to glean from them. Yes, ma'am.
I just think to say, you have to have the heart of caregiving.
Yeah.
Do it from your heart.
That's coming.
And you have to walk in my shoes just for a hot moment before you criticize me.
Yeah.
I'm 10 children, and I've been the caregiver for the people in my family. When I'm sick, where are they? But I try not to worry about them. I said, God gave me the spirit of caregiving.
Yep, that is true. So you have informal and formal caregivers. Over here, you just said caregiving sometimes creeps up on you. You start by dropping off at your loved one's house, doing their laundry, taking somebody to an appointment. Then you find yourself grocery shopping, refilling prescriptions, and before you know it, you're doing more and more. And that's just kind of what happens in terms of caregiving. It goes that way. It can be triggered by a major health event, a stroke, a heart attack, or an accident. It can be triggered by what we've been talking about today, Alzheimer's or dementia. There is an emotional side to caregiving, a lot of which we've already been talking about now. Many emotions surface when you take on the job of caregiving. Some of these feelings happen right away, and some don't surface until you have been serving for a while. With the poor sleep, the illness, the trouble coping, stress eating, all of those things that come up, It's important that we admit our feelings and we deal with them head on, because when you don't, you internalize. That causes you more issues. And then you have problems even with perhaps your other family members, because you feel that they're not stepping up and you're doing this and you're doing that. But that's why you have to be vocal about exactly where you are. The only way people know what you need is if you tell them.
That's right.
The only way. That takes us to watching out for signs of caregiver burnout. You really have to look in terms of social warning signs. If you have gotten rid of all of your outside relationships, you're not talking to people, you're not going places, you're not making an effort to do any of that. I know caregiving can be overwhelming, it takes a lot. I really truly was with Mom pretty much all day, and they would make opportunities for me to get out and do some other things. And because of caregiver burnout, it tells your mind, no, I don't want to go because I need to be here because she's going to be looking for me, and I'm the only one who can do it like she like it. I'm the only one, so and so such. Why are you doing it that way? Because that's not what she like. I had to get to the point as it began to wane on me, and the Lord makes it clear for you. Instead of questioning how people was doing stuff, I said, girl, you do you. When she with you, you do your thing, and when she with me, I got it. So I didn't do that. Did I call up here minding you all's business, telling you what to do?
No, but when she came, Jackie sent me like a 4-page instruction sheet.
So yes, you did tell me what you did.
Yes, she did.
I did.
Don't do that. Do this. What time to
But
do this.
some of that telling you was so that you didn't have the pushback from her. You wanted her buy-in. You definitely wanted her buy-in. So you have to look at social warning signs, physical warning signs, and spiritual warning signs, because some people even pull away from the Lord.
They do.
Even if you can't go into service, you can tune into somebody's service. You should still be surrounding yourself with the word. And we do that. So you have all of that on your handout in detail. So that's the only reason you're not going to hear me go through it in great detail. Please, please, and please do not ignore the warning signs of burnout. If you see it upon you, you see that you're not taking care of yourself, please, 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 please stop, regroup, and ask people to help. Even if they say no, keep asking until you get a yes. Keep asking until you get a yes. Let those warning signs drive you to a deeper dependence on your faith, for sure. What types of pitfalls do we need to be concerned about? Do we need to guard our hearts and our minds? Do we need to be aware of temptation? Yes, because Satan is always busy. I just told you just a second ago, you allowed him to tell you that you're the only one who can do this. And when somebody is trying to help you, it prevents you from getting the help, because I'm saying, no, I'm going to stay here, and I'm so-and-so. No. You can't have your life so wrapped up in caregiving that you ignore other relationships in your own physical and spiritual life. That's one of the temptations we fall for. You are not indispensable. Some other statements that can make you feel like you're indispensable. I said those a little earlier. Nobody can do it better than you. Nobody cares except for me. If I don't do it, nobody else will. Indispensability and self-sufficiency. With that, we need to remember that God's strength is actually made perfect in weakness. So this might not go right, but it's okay, because it's going to be all right. As long as your loved one is okay and it wasn't done this way, everything is going to be fine. Another temptation we have to look for is anger. Because again, this can be very overwhelming. It can be a lot. When you have loved ones that push back, that are combative, that don't want to do what you need them to do for their own well-being, we have to make sure we guard our minds and hearts as it relates to that. So we need to meditate on the fact that God, who did not spare his own son, the most lavish gifts of all, will not withhold from us what we really need. He has it all covered. He has it all covered. We also have to look at fear when we're thinking about, oh, what if this, what if that, what if I'm not here and they pass? What if I'm not here and they get hurt? What if this? What if? Hear Jesus say, do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. We cannot focus on the what ifs. God, you can't focus on the what ifs. Because all of the things that you're thinking that's a what if is going to happen at some point anyway. And guess what? You can't stop it when it happens. You cannot stop it when it happens. The week that my mom was transitioning and I first realized it, I kept saying, yes, I was the elected official to take care of her because I was the stronger one. I was the one who was going to make sure she listened. They know that's just who I am. That's why all of them call me their mama too, because that's just what I do. And I knew that she was going to be okay, and I kept saying it was gonna, I took my baby sister, for example, but she was always very easy to cry. We were at breakfast one morning, and you know how you take hand sanitizer and clean your hands? My mother took the syrup at Cracker Barrel and cleaned her hands. And my baby sister just started crying and she could not stop. Because that was the point in the moment where she realized what Alzheimer's had actually done to her mom. And it was like an eye-opening experience. And for me, I'm there every day. I'm experiencing this every day. They say Alzheimer's is the long goodbye. You're watching everything as it stops, every little piece as it ends. You're grieving all along because you're already losing them. You've already lost so much, and if you're there on the front end and you see it, you're right there. You can see every little bitty piece that you've lost. Thinking about mom, from her being independent, taking care of all of her kids when dad died, and you all could depend on her. She showed you the perseverance that she had, the strength, the stamina, and then to see her turn into a little frail, feeble, couldn't do what she needed to do for herself, that was so very hard to see. Because I was there every day, I thought it would be easier for me when it came to the point that she was ready, that God was ready to take her. But that first day that I knew it was happening, we were leaving the restroom. I had just gotten her dressed for the day. We were walking from her room to the dining room, literally from here to right here where this lady is sitting with this beautiful purple hat on. That's about the distance that I had to go. She lost all consciousness as we were walking from here to there, and I totally lost it. I could not get any of them on the phone. Everybody I called was somewhere else. And I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that that would have been my response, because I thought I was prepared. I thought I was ready. But there is no amount of ready that you can be, and that's why you have to stay rooted in the ground. Because you're not going to be ready.
The hardest part for me is when my mother announced something going on with her. When she said to me one day, what did I do yesterday? Why I can't remember? And I literally had to tell her, Mom, you have dementia. And she just balled up and cried. You know, they have a hard time with acceptance.
But they do, and that's part of the protection that I really believe the Lord has given them, in that they can't remember what they're going through. Because when they can, it's very hard, it's very difficult, and you can see it in their eyes and in their faces. You can see somebody said it earlier, the once happy person that they were. There's a clear difference between the smiles that my mom had before any of this happened than after everything happened. It was a light on her face that was not there when she was in this darkness. And that's one of the hardest things to take, because you can't even fathom what they're thinking or what they're going through. You can only do your part to help them go through it as best as they can. And that's a really hard part. So when you're looking at your notes on first steps for new caregivers, one thing I said earlier, you need to make sure you get the proper diagnoses so that you can meet the need of your loved one. And that's going to the doctor, being that advocate for them. You need to make sure that you are taking care of business matters early on. As soon as my mom was diagnosed with dementia, because it was dementia first, and then they progressed it to Alzheimer's, As soon as that same week, it was in that same week to 2 weeks, we got her power of attorney done. We got her powers of attorney, health and personal business affairs. We got her her directives done for her living will, what she wanted to happen. We had it in writing with an attorney, plus we did a video. We did all those things up front. Because if you wait and they get to the point where they are not cognitively there, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. And the most you can get is a legal guardianship over them. And then all of their financial concerns and burdens become yours because you can't legally even touch their money.
Well,
Yes.
that was the situation I'm in now, and I didn't realize it because my sister's still going through the process of being diagnosed. And we had a meeting with a social worker, and she did an evaluation, so I've been trying to do paperwork with them, and my sister always, it wasn't a real, so the social worker told me that I cannot do anything. I have to wait for the doctor's final diagnosis so that anything can be done, because now whatever I do for her or help her do, basically, it's like she's handling her own business, but the nurses and the doctors, they allow me to come and deal with her, or they'll come to me, but legally, I have no legal rights to do it.
That's correct. Because of the law, they're trying to safeguard them against people coming in and taking over their affairs and not treating them right. So if you don't do it from the onset, early on, then you miss that window of opportunity. And see, people don't know that. Just so happens we did it early on, and it was a great thing that we did. The only thing we did not do was get, the house was in my father's name and her name. And my father, of course, preceded her in death. But my brother-in-law is an attorney, so he was able to help us through that process, and it wasn't a nightmare for us. And it didn't take long for that to be processed. But when people don't know, they don't do. And so estate planning is very important. You want to make sure you are taking care of those items. That has to be early on. Has to be early on. And we already talked about caring for yourself. You want to make sure that in no uncertain terms you're doing that. The big three of caring for yourself to be successful is eating right, exercising, and sleeping. Sleeping was a big thing that I could not do. I exercise daily. Other reason why I survived my heart attack, because every day I exercise. Mom liked to be active, so she thought she was doing what I was doing. She wasn't, but she thought she was. And it worked for me. We exercised every morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how we started our day. And she was in there moving, and I was doing what I was doing, and it worked for me because she was fine with me exercising, and we got it done. So it worked. So exercising was important for me. Sleeping was my downfall, because with her, she was very, very busy, very busy. As soon as she moved, I've always been a heavy sleeper, but God fixed it where as soon as there was any movement, I was up. I was right there. And I had to be, because that decreased the number of incidents she had where she was injured. She had one really bad fall where she got tangled in the cover trying to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and she bruised her face. That was the only one she ever got, because I changed my whole system after that. There was no covers like that, and she couldn't get up unless I let her up. And they were like, well, no, you can't. Yes, I can. I can keep my mother safe. You can't tell me what I can do in here in this house. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I switched her regular bed to a hospital bed, and that's how we kept her safe. And I didn't have any pushback from my family, because for them, I was doing everything I needed to do for her, and those were the decisions I had to make. Yes, you will be in a place where you have to make decisions unilaterally for the safety of your family member if you are the primary caregiver, because only you really know what's going on. And you have to let the chips fall where they may. Anybody who had a problem, you're welcome to talk to me, but I don't really care, because this is what I'm doing. Yeah. I never had to take that stance, but that would have been my stance. Remember that taking care of yourself is as important as taking care of someone else. If you don't take care of you, you can't take care of them. And somebody said it earlier, I told you it was coming in my slides. Caregiving definitely is a sacred calling. It's how God wants us to care for others. God's word makes it clear that caring for others is not optional, but a fundamental expression of our faith. So not just your family members, but for people who are going through. The people who are in your congregation, in your mission right here that might be going through. All they may need from you that a day is a kind word, a phone call, something to distract them from their day-to-day. The opportunity to go in another room and just sit and pray. Sit and think. Make a phone call for their personal business. And then you may only have to sit with their loved one for 10 minutes. Give others the option to do what they need to do to take care of themselves. We have 10 minutes to offer somebody. Wouldn't you agree?
Amen.
Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. So when we're looking at caring for others, we're looking at John 15 and 12. Love is Christ loved. Jesus commanded his followers to love each other as I have loved you. This sacrificial love serves as the ultimate example for our care of others. Don't you want somebody to care for you like that?
Yes.
That is one of the things that's my driver for everything that I do. Because I want to be treated a certain way, I think about that, and I want to treat you the way I want to be treated. Amen. So whatever I can do to make sure that I'm treating you this way, principle of sowing and reaping. That means I'm not doing it just so somebody can treat me well. I wouldn't want anybody treating me bad. And my other driver, I wouldn't want anybody treating my mama like that. When I see older people out trying to shop and they need help, I don't have to know you. Whatever you need, I can help you with. You trying to move this over here, reach that, I will help you because I would want somebody to help my mama. Driving, yes, I have to get where I'm going, but if you're trying to get across the street and I can stop traffic so you can get across, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop. That's all about sacrificial love and serving others. Embodying God's care for the weak. I will be your God throughout your lifetime until your hair is white with age. I made you and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. That's Isaiah 46 and 4. This is a powerful demonstration of the compassion that God has for his people. Is he calling us to have that same compassion for others?
Yes.
So as caregivers, we're willing to do this for people that we love and we know. We're willing to do it even when it's hard, even when it's difficult. He's calling us to do it even for people that we don't know.
Right.
Serve without expectations. The Bible teaches that when we serve, and the king will say, I will tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me. My mother used to always include that in her prayer. She would say at the very end, and don't forget about for me as one of the least of these. So that's always ringing in my mind. You want to make sure that you're serving without expectations. It's not something that I'm doing because I expect you to do this for me. Yes, I want Tianza to look out for me as I get older. I'm not going to treat her in that regard and say, although she'll be pushing my chair while she's rolling her walker, but it's okay. We are called to serve generously, humbly, and without expecting anything in return. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. Philippians 2 verses 3 and 4 covers that as well. Even as we continue to think about caring for others, we need to be a living example. Your action of loving sacrifice should be a light to others, pointing them to God. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your Heavenly Father. I can only hope and pray that everything that I did for my mom has pointed others to Christ and what they need to do for their parents. I have 110 nieces and nephews who I hope was watching, and they're going to do the same thing for their parents as well. The spiritual principles of caregiving conveyed by the text our community, responsibility, and compassionate action, as well as unconditional love. And that is with the scripture that you chose from Galatians as well. It shows community responsibility. We are our brother's keepers. We really are. We really are. And we are to bear with the infirmities of the weak and with one another's burden. This is something that's established in caregiving. It's not a private task. It's something that we should see as a communal duty that we owe to the community, to the fellowship of believers, for sure. For me, again, people I see on the street, I don't know if they're a believer or not, but if I can lend a hand, I'm going to, because that's what I would want. This is especially true for those facing a devastating diagnosis like dementia, which affects the entire family and social circle. No Christian should ever think that they don't need to help others, and no one should feel excused from helping others. Caregivers are not expected to be self-sufficient, but can and should lean on others. The body of Christ should step up to assist. It's so many things that we can do to help people who are caring for their loved ones. You would be surprised. Just small things are very, very helpful. During the early part of taking care of Mom, the hardest part for me was the constant blaming me for stealing money, taking her things, not treating her right. She thought that was the truth because that's what her mind was telling her because she couldn't remember. So it's hard to separate what she's saying from how you feel. So what happened for me was my outlet was tired. She would call often just so that I could say what I was thinking and feeling. And that was helpful. It didn't matter. Wasn't a thing that I was saying negative things about my mom, but just having that sounding board where you could say how you feel, being able to cry if you need to cry. The great part about that is that part for me didn't last forever because God needed me to have a certain level of thick skin, if you will, to deal with what was coming next. Because that was the beginning. If I had stayed there, I would have crashed and burned when it got to the more difficult. For real. For sure. So that compassionate action is necessary. Active, not passive empathy. True Christian compassion is not merely feeling sorrow for another, but being moved to action. Isn't that what the love is that we're supposed to have? Right. It's supposed to be an actionable love. Right. Telling me you love me and I never see any evidence of it doesn't really mean it. Yes, and those are the things that helps alleviate distress and stress of others. So for dementia caregiving, this can mean offering a listening ear, providing a meal, or taking over for a few hours, 15 minutes if that's all you have. Give the primary caregiver a break. It is so important. So identifying and addressing true burdens, Galatians 6:2, which was your theme scripture, uses, and I'm not like pastors, but they do use the Greek word that is pronounced baros, but it looks like baros for burdens. It refers to excessive crushing weights that are too heavy for one person to bear alone. So we're not talking about just your typical toothache. I'm talking about stuff that is so difficult that you can't bear. You have to do it in community together, because if you don't, you're going to crush under the weight of it. And this is what we're called to do. Caregivers in their communities are encouraged to focus on relieving the true overwhelming burdens like isolation and despair. Do you know what it's like to be at a place, I know caregivers know, where it's just you and the person you're caring for. You don't see anybody else, you don't hear from anybody else. Every day you get up, go down, this is your life. This is where you are, this is what you're doing. To the point where you're no longer there, it's hard to look out the door and see that it's safe for you to come out and do something different. Because you've been so used to being right here, you feel guilty when you go to do something else. it's like, am I supposed to be doing this? I'm really supposed to, I feel so bad that I'm not over here doing X, Y, and Z. And this is, for me, that occurred even after mom was gone. I found it very hard to take myself out of my house because I was no longer in her house because we kind of did all of that immediately. But go out and do things, even with my own family members, like enjoying a movie, because I was feeling guilty that I was no longer in that place where I was caring for her every need every day, because it was so important to me. But you can't get yourself to the place where you're not willing to step out. It can be a really overwhelming burden, while still allowing individuals to maintain appropriate responsibilities. It was the one thing I did get to do. I did get to go to church regularly, because until the week that she began to transition, maybe 2 weeks, she was going to church with me every Sunday. So I got to go. I had to stop her from going to her church. I let her do it as long as I could, but when it became a problem for the people at her church, then I just took her with me. And my church family just welcomed her on in, just like you all did for her, as if she was a member of your body always. And that's a part of what the community does. And I don't know if you all know what that actually does for family members who's caring for a loved one, for you to embrace them and welcome them like they're a part of you. And you don't treat them like they're a pest or they're getting on your nerve. Because in those times when they're agitated, they can be loud in the service. They can be loud, they can be fighting back, not wanting to do what you want them to do. But because everybody loves them, you're just like, oh, it's going to be okay. Here, I'll sit here with you. You do what you got to do. That is such a blessing when saints of God do it. It really is. Unconditional love, which we already talked about. That's that third piece. The ultimate motivation for caregiving comes from the concluding phrase of Galatians 2. And so fulfill the law of Christ. That's why you're so sacrificial with what you do for your loved ones, because what you're doing for them is also as unto God, what you do for God. Love is the law of Christ. The law of Christ is the new command given by Jesus to love one another as I have loved you. That's John 13 and 34. By lovingly serving one another, Christians fulfill the core principle of their faith. So that and that alone should give you a feeling of warmth and love that you're doing what God wants you to do. So even when it's hard, that's where your mind, that's what my mind, that's what helped me to lie. When it's hard, I'm doing what God would have me to do. And those are things that got me through even on those difficult days. Christ himself bore the ultimate burdens for humanity on the cross. When caregivers sacrifice their own comfort for the sake of another, they are mirroring the sacrificial love of Christ and demonstrating what it means to be his disciple. So in summary, just 3 phrases. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, but the term should not be used interchangeably. Dementia describes a set of symptoms caused by a variety of conditions, while Alzheimer's is a progressive disease that specifically damages the brain. Understanding the distinction can help you seek the right kind of help and support at the right time. Caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia is an overwhelming, demanding, long-term commitment that can take a severe emotional, physical, and financial toll on caregivers as they watch a loved one slowly disappear. You heard me say it earlier, Alzheimer's is known as the long goodbye. Love in action in the context of a devastating disease like Alzheimer's and dementia. Love is demonstrated not just through words, but through consistent, faithful actions. Galatians 6 and 2 is a reminder that caregiving is a tangible expression of love that builds up the community of believers and offers a living testimony to the compassion of Christ. Saints, I only hope and pray that anything that I've said today has helped you in this journey that you're on with understanding Alzheimer's versus dementia, and then getting a clear picture of what it likes to be a caregiver of your loved one, and something has helped that you can say, I'm on the right track, I'm just gonna keep on moving a little further. Thank you so Again, if you want the slide, I'm gonna leave my screen open. You can just type your email in there and you can put it in there. I got it.